now. All right. So what I'm going to do is let me share my screen with you all. All right. Okay. So I hope everyone can see that. And what we will do is we will start the presentation right now. So if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to ask away during the presentation, and I'll answer them in the chat room. So ask them in the chat room, and then we'll do the presentation. So first off, I wanted to say thank you all for joining. I love my sports. I've been a dietitian since 2008. So for 13 years, I've been doing sports nutrition, and I love it. It's one of the best things for me. And I love getting geeked out with like how many grams of carbs and proteins we should be eating before and after workout, and how different workouts are sport specific. So it's just been a lot of fun. And one thing I wanted to share with you is that today we'll be discussing optimizing sports recovery through superfoods. And we'll be talking about 3 important nutrients to enhance recovery, including leucine, probiotics, which are technically microorganisms, and antioxidants. Then we'll be talking about Clover the Rainbow and how we can power our brilliance through superfoods. So during the presentation, I'm going to be describing the 3 nutrients and microorganisms, and we'll be explaining the latest research discussing how these microorganisms optimize muscle repair and reduce exercise-induced oxidative stress for sports performance. And the most important part is I'm going to talk about specific foods which contain these nutrients, because to me, it's great knowing the science behind stuff, but it's about sharing what we have with our audience, like providing our audiences with that information and giving it into the layman terms so that they can take it away and that they understand like how to use it and incorporate it into their routines. Because yeah, it's nice to know all the science, but you know, as a person, like now what do I do with it? So we'll be definitely talking about how we can relate to our audience. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, as I mentioned, I love my sports. I've been a registered dietitian since 2008, and I write for a lot of sports publications. Like I'm the dietitian for Swimmer magazine. I was a dietitian for Ultra Running magazine. I work with a lot of clients actually worldwide, especially because of the ultra running scene. There's not too many dietitians practicing, and I have clients in South Africa and Europe and Australia, so it's pretty fun. And I love my sports. And I also worked with pediatrics and youth since I started. So for the past 13 years, I've been working with a lot of kids and teens and whatnot. I did receive an honorarium for this webinar, and thank you for Clover Sonoma for sponsoring the webinar. We're really grateful for that. So that's pretty much it with the disclosures. And then I always love to share freebies. So basically Clover the Rainbow has offered Clover Cash. So if you share on social media, tag @Clover Sonoma and use Clover the Rainbow hashtag Power Your Brilliance, they will send you Clover Cash so that you can redeem it and go to the store and buy the Clover the Rainbow smoothies. So definitely feel free to share away on social and get your Clover Cash. And then once again, if anyone has any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to put it into the chat room, and then we'll do our best to answer it. And we'll do our best to answer it at the end, and then we'll open it up. So it will also open it up for more Q&A too. But if you have questions during it, just put it into the chat room. And we'll have about 10 minutes for Q&A at the end of the webinar. And just a final friendly reminder, this is approved for 1 CEU, and you'll be getting an email at the end of the webinar with your CEU certificate. So thank you all for joining, and let's get started. All right. You may have heard of branched chain amino acids before. They're essential nutrients that the body gets from protein, and they include leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and protein helps our body build and maintain muscles. Now, an essential amino acid is an amino acid that must be provided by our diet because our body can't make it on its own. And leucine in particular is one of these branched chain amino acids that's essential. Now, when we work out, we tear our muscles. And the reason why branched chain amino acids are pretty hot in the sports industry is because they actually bypass the liver and go straight to the muscles for optimal repair. And generally, like other amino acids, what happens is they go to the liver first and then get distributed out. But the branched chain amino acids bypass that. So that's why you'll see a lot of branched chain amino acids in recovery drinks and sports products. Now, how much protein do we really need? Well, protein is pretty popular. Don't get me wrong; it's very important. But some Americans definitely love their meat. And according to the 2020-2025 dietary guidelines for Americans, adult females actually should consume about 46 grams of protein per day, which is really low. And adult men should consume roughly 56 grams of protein per day. And that is equivalent to 10 to 35% of their daily calories. Now, that's on the lower end. Other health organizations give recommendations based on weight and activity type. Like, for example, the American College of Sports Medicine, the ACSM, which is one of my go-to places for sports nutrition, super fan of them. They suggest that athletes who do strength training in their workout routines consume about 0.5 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight each day. So what that means is if a person weighs about 150 pounds, then they should be eating about 75 to 120 grams of protein daily. So as you see here, that 75 to 120, it's a lot different than the 46 to 56 recommendations. Now, these are for more active people. And leucine in particular has been a really hot topic in the sports industry because it increases muscle growth and lean body mass, and it helps the body recover faster from exercise. So a study published in the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition in 2017 had a position paper on protein and exercise, and they were basically talking about how resistance training in particular and its relationship to protein ingestion was important to consume in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So basically what they were stating was we should be consuming protein both before and after a workout. Now, when you think about it, the whole idea that people talk about how we'll have carbs first, and yeah, carbs are important, but we should also combine protein with it too in order to optimize the metabolism of the carb, increase the uptake of it, and then also to kind of balance it out. And then post-workout, yeah, protein is important. We also should make sure we tell our clients get some carbs in too. So they were saying that basically we should do it both before and after to stimulate the muscle growth. Now, depending on the sport, there's other recommendations of how many grams per kilogram of body weight or whatever. But if you kind of go around the 0.5 to 0.8 roughly, that should be equivalent to making sure that they have enough protein. Now, with that said, you don't want your clients to eat 75 grams of protein at one sitting. Okay, so that's another thing that the studies have really emphasized is the main goal is for optimal protein intake is to eat about 20 to 35 grams of protein per serving with a high quality protein source. And generally also too, leucine, we're looking at getting in about 0.7 to 3 grams of leucine per serving or excuse me, per day, and kind of breaking that up over the course of the day. So throughout the whole entire day, you want to get up to 3 grams of leucine, and you want to also include a balanced array of essential amino acids, because when we incorporate them all at once, when they have a high portion of the essential amino acids and adequate leucine, it's more effective in stimulating the muscle protein synthesis and stimulating the muscle growth. Now, protein doses, if you kind of think about eating it throughout the day, we're thinking about eating it every 3 to 4 hours. And that would be like having protein at breakfast, having protein at lunch, having protein at dinner. And so, and maybe during the snack time too. And also too, we're going to look at like using high quality protein sources in order to have a better bioavailability, versus protein supplementation is great, but we want to make sure that we're doing like high quality sources. Now, as you see here, there's a lot of sources that have like leucine available. And one thing nice is that whole idea of like with the kids, like getting like the 3 servings of dairy a day. Well, right there, if you have like 2 glasses of milk, a glass was considering like 8 ounces, plus a cup of yogurt throughout the day, well, then you have your leucine that you need. You have roughly your 3 grams of leucine needed for the day. Also too, one thing that too fast. One thing that I wanted to note too was it was really cool about the studies that they emphasize that athletes should be focusing on whole food sources of protein. And I really liked how a lot of the studies now are looking at using whole foods, real foods. Another really cool thing too, that many of the studies incorporating leucine and muscle protein synthesis talked about was having a leucine-rich snack or meal right before bed can actually stimulate overnight muscle protein synthesis and metabolic rate without influencing like lipolysis or the breakdown of fat. So basically the studies, like, well, first of all, they looked at casein, and branched chain amino acid leucine is found within casein, and that could be found in like the milk products. And they were showing that people that had that glass of milk before bed had increased muscle growth during the night. And if you think about kind of taking back to the basics, like, I don't know about you, but growing up, my mom would give us like a warm glass of milk before bedtime. And little did she know it was stimulating our muscle growth. And especially with kids growing who need that extra muscle support, it was really great. And when we kind of think about it, like going back to these traditions that we had with, you know, our families or whatever it may be, like, let's bring back the basics, you know? And so, yeah, that warm glass of milk, it would coat your stomach, it would make you feel really good. And then you went to bed and you were kind of full, and little did you know the powerhouse was going on. Now, when working with my clients, I like to figure out like what their needs and their desires are and what their preferences are and their dietary preferences and what their likes are. And one thing kind of cool about Clover the Rainbow smoothies is they do have 8 grams of protein made from both milk and yogurt, which can provide a high quality protein source that contains all the essential amino acids, including the branched chain amino acids, leucine. So it could be a great post-workout snack or even like an evening snack before or after dinner. And then if I have clients that are vegan, you know, this is when I could talk to them about doing things like, okay, well, tofu or nuts, or, you know, what, like lentils. So these are things that we can kind of incorporate into their routine in order to make sure that they're getting the needs that they have, the adequate needs that are required. So 100, oh, and just also to note, 100 grams isn't a lot. 100 grams is about 3.5 ounces. So if our clients are doing meats like chicken or salmon or whatever, like you really only need that size, that palm size recommendation is pretty legit. Also to 3.5 ounces provide about 25 grams of protein. Roughly 5 ounces of meat gives about 35. 5 ounces of meat gives about 35 grams of protein. So when you're kind of like give recommendations, like people don't need to have that crazy turkey stick anymore. That turkey thing that you see at the fairs. Like, we really just need a palm size at a meal. So that could definitely give in people's needs of getting that 25-ish gram to 35 gram of protein at the meal. So if they have 3.5, 4 ounces of chicken at lunch, 3.5, 4 ounces of salmon at dinner, that can give them the leucine that they need. And that can give them roughly that 25-ish grams of protein. And if you think about it too, if we do look at some of the protein powders and supplements, those also average about 20 to 25 grams of protein per scoop. So we're really looking at those kind of recommendations. All right, so let's get into probiotics. So probiotics are live microorganisms that naturally live in our bodies and provide a multitude of health benefits by improving and restoring the gut flora. Now, probiotics help our bodies digest food. They keep bad bacteria from getting out of control and making us sick. They create vitamins. They help support the cells that line our guts to prevent bad bacteria that we may have consumed through food or drinks from entering our blood. They help with the breakdown and absorption of medications. They help with inflammation. They're pretty powerful little microorganisms. And since 70% of our immune system arises in our guts, the probiotics help maintain our good gut health. Now, there has been a lot of talk about probiotics in sports nutrition. And before we get into some of the research that has been looked at, let's talk about why athletes and people that are active fitness enthusiasts, why it's important to have a good gut health. Because basically probiotics do many wonderful things, but it's actually really essential for the athletes. So athletes have varying gut microbiota compositions that appear to reflect the activity level of the people. And athletes tend to have harder times with their guts in comparison to a sedentary person. So people that are working out a little bit more tend to have more strain and stress on the gut, which can lower our immune response. First of all, and I'm just going to go through some of the reasons why athletes are so excessive. So number one, depending on how much you exercise, that can cause immune depression. So if the excessive training load can actually decrease our immune support. I don't know if you've ever heard of runner's trots, but people running a lot. Sometimes they have to immediately go to the bathroom, and part of that is just because of all the pressure and jarring and everything, and the lack of water going to their systems and everything. So it's the excessive training loads can definitely cause an immune response. Also, too, psychological stress has been shown to decrease our immune suppression to our immune support. For example, look at Simone Biles, who dropped out of the 2021 Summer Olympics, because of the psychological stress. There's definitely a relationship to stress and gut health. Oh, even Michael Phelps, he started a mental health therapy at Alpha Medical just because of the whole stress factor. So athletes really do go through a lot of stress. Disturbed sleep can affect our guts too. Oh my gosh, I remember, well, this is pre-COVID when we used to do actual races and events. You have to wake up at 4 in the morning sometimes, 3 in the morning to get to these events that start at 5 or 6. And, so first of all, you're not sleeping because you're so excited and your adrenaline's going, oh my gosh. And then you don't want to miss the alarms. You're like, okay, well, I wake up at 3, and every hour you're kind of waking up going, is it 3 o'clock yet? And then, so sleep is just kind of to the side, but that can also affect our guts. And then also to environmental extremes, this intense prolonged exercise, especially in the heat, that can definitely affect our gut. And that has been shown to increase the gut permeability, which can increase the risk of respiratory tract infections. So with all that said, now that we know why it's important to have some good gut health, let's look at what the research says. So the research basically said that specific probiotic strains can improve the integrity of the gut barrier function in athletes. So in certain situations, including like exposure to crowds, travel, poor hygiene at home, like this can also affect our guts too. And oh, speaking of like travel too, when it comes to like athletes and fitness enthusiasts, like when we do travel for events or when we do travel for games, sometimes our digestion is off. Like, sometimes people can get constipated, or, they don't really, they're eating out of their norm because they're eating out, or they don't have their normal foods available because of the travel factor. So that could also affect the gut too. And then the poor hygiene can affect the gut too. I remember sometimes when I had my office open and some of the kids would come in, some of the teenagers, okay, they're some of them were definitely interesting hygiene and hormones just going crazy. So yeah, so these can all affect the gut. And then so the research was basically stating that the strains, there's specific strains which can change the gut too. And let me pull at that right now. So these are some of the strains that they studied and researched. And since we're looking at like a healthy immune response, basically the strains and the amount, the quantity of microorganisms, the quantity of probiotics in it, that can help reduce the number of episodes, the severity and the duration of the upper respiratory tract infections, and really help improve the athlete's guts and whatnot. And a lot of the studies focused on yogurt as being found in fermented foods of yogurt, just because they were looking at more of like the whole food natural source. And what they found with the yogurt studies was a lot of the athletes that were consuming yogurt post-workout, they would actually improve recovery and they would decrease inflammation. And since the gut absorbs and digests key nutrients necessary for our health, when we have a proper functioning gut, our immune system will remain strong. And since intense exercise can cause strain on the immune system, making probiotic consumption important is it can promote a healthy immune response through a solid, durable gut as a necessity. Now, with this in mind, with these different strains, a lot of these strains you can find, they're more of the popular strains. So these are kind of the more common ones too. And that's what a lot of the research was looking at, because they wanted to really determine like the commonly used strains and commonly found strains in our systems. Okay, so now where do we get our probiotics from naturally, and what do we tell our clients? Now that we know probiotics are important, well, we want to eat these foods. We want to incorporate these foods into our weekly routine or even our daily routine. And I'm always an advocate of food first. So you can combine the probiotics and the leucine by enjoying a yogurt. So if you notice too, like one thing nice about actually eating a whole food, real food, is that with the whole food, you have a multitude of benefits. Like, as you noted here, yogurt has probiotics and yogurt has leucine. So right now, that's a double whammy. It's a double benefit. Versus if you're just taking a probiotic supplement, you're just taking that, that probiotic, whichever strain it is. And for with the studies and stuff that they noted that, if we combine it, it's easy. And also like kind of putting things into a smoothie can be really easy too. And we could drink that. Kefir is another popular drink on the market. A lot of people drink it and it's a great recovery snack also. And then kind of jumping into some of the other fermented foods like the miso, the kimchi, and the sauerkraut. Once again, I'm pulling in my grandma. So growing up, my mom and grandma are 100% Croatian. I'm only 50%, but we had sauerkraut at so many of our meals with grandma, basically every meal we had with grandma. And, she always gave us a side of sauerkraut. And then I remember growing up, like grandma, every time my stomach would kind of be funky, grandma would be like, oh, here, have some sauerkraut. And I know my grandma did not know what probiotics were. I don't even think my grandma knew the name probiotic, but there was just something tradition, like that was just what they did. And then if you look at a lot of the other cultures too, like miso's included in almost most of the meals with in the Japanese culture. Kimchi, you always have a little bit of side dish with kimchi and a lot of the Korean culture. So if you kind of think about like just heritage and where food comes from, without necessarily these people knowing the science behind it, they just made it work because it's just tradition and that's just what you do. So it's kind of nice, like bringing stuff in, like in that sense. Okay, so let's move along to getting in some antioxidants. So antioxidants are substances that reduce oxidation and minimize cell damage from free radicals. If the body can't remove free radicals efficiently, it can result in oxidative stress, which can harm the body and cause inflammation, respiratory diseases, heart disease, and other health conditions. So antioxidants are anti-inflammatory that help the body remain strong. Now, intense physical activity creates free radicals that damage cells and prolong recovery. And antioxidants reduce the free radicals. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. Now, antioxidants are found in a lot of plant-based foods, and such as fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. So these have a lot of antioxidants. And a lot of the studies and research stated athletes who eat plant-based diets therefore typically consume greater amounts of antioxidant-rich foods. Now, the plant-based doesn't mean that you're vegan or vegetarian. It just means that you're eating more plants, by the way, so plant forward. And what it is it's stating that people that do the antioxidants, they can recover more quickly due to the antioxidants present in those plant foods. And if they can recover more quickly, then they can work out harder, or they can work out, if they work out again, the next workout, they can actually improve their fitness level more dramatically. So people who consume an antioxidant-rich diet have a greater probability of having more strength, stamina, and longevity. And that's basically what the research kind of summed up. And then antioxidant supplements are commonly consumed by athletes to minimize exercise-induced oxidative stress with the intention of enhancing recovery and improving performance. Now, the research was really mixed when it came to the actual supplementation. And partly because a lot of the supplementation factor was done in vitro versus in vivo live with real humans and testing the efficacy in humans. For example, a lot of people thought that consuming antioxidants like vitamin E and vitamin C would speed up recovery. But when they did those supplements, just the supplements with the athletic performance, the studies that they found were inconclusive. And some researchers even stated that supplementation could potentially be problematic because once again, you're just kind of giving a person that hard dose of vitamin E or that hard dose of vitamin C. But the studies that looked more at supplementing with whole foods, real foods, and using the food products that contain the vitamin C or the vitamin E, they found out that the athletes consuming diets rich in fruits and vegetables that provided vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and other bioactive compounds to meet the recommended intakes of these antioxidants versus just taking the supplementation really excelled. So they were basically saying, eat the whole foods and you'll get a well-balanced variety of love. Now, looking at specific, so what specific foods were a lot of these researches? Well, looking at They were looking at like beets. So beets are high in nitrates that help the blood vessels dilate, which increase blood flow to the active muscles during exercise. Basically what that means is, it helps you feel less taxed during a workout, which can save energy. So your aerobic energy cost is decreased. So basically like the beet, like kind of like it opens up the blood vessels, it increases the blood flow so that you're running, you're feeling good and you don't feel as taxed and you feel like you can have you can go farther, longer, and there's less of an energy cost. Now, beets, there's a lot of like beets products on the market right now, especially when it comes to athletes. So yeah, so as they say, the beet goes on literally, right? Also too, kind of falling into the lines of like the blue purple thing, the blue purple color, I should say. Blueberries have antioxidants known as anthocyanins, which reduce inflammation and oxidative damage both before and after a workout, which can speed up recovery. Nicole Kearney, a fellow sports dietitian at Broder Sports Medicine Clinic, has advised that, quote unquote, blueberries are best taken right before and or after exercise. She also quoted, "There's never a bad time to eat blueberries. They work great in smoothies," unquote. Blueberries have carbs too, which help with energy and performance so that they can actually help restore glycogen stores post-workout for energy and faster recovery. And then one of the studies she also noted, it was based on runners. The runners that were doing the blueberries, it actually helped block oxidative stress as a result of the running. So that's also a positive too. Now, carrots, carrots have beta carotene, which is an antioxidant that inhibits oxidation and protects the body from free radicals. So carrots are rich in potassium for faster recovery and reduction of fatigue. The beta carotene also helps protect the skin, eyesight, bones, and more. Now, it's not just about looking at the stress factor, it's also about like thinking about these foods that do help protect our skin. Because, athletes, like if you're running outside or playing in the sun or, running around, like you want to have that skin health, you want to have that skin protection. Everyone needs to see, so anything that can benefit our eyes are fabulous. And then bone health. Oh, bone health is so important for all of us. Especially like fitness enthusiasts, we're more at risk for breaking a bone or causing a fracture or stress fracture. So having foods that really help with bone health is so important too. And just kind of looking at the carrot, like, okay, we've got antioxidants, we've got potassium, we've got like all this stuff. It's not just the one shot deal, it's the whole package. And then butternut squash is also similar to carrots in the sense where it has an antioxidant content of the alpha carotene, beta carotene, and other carotenoids. Butternut squash also has vitamin C, and it's a rich complex carb, which can provide energy for the working muscles and glycogen for topping off our energy stores. So Team USA, the triathlon, part of the Olympic Training Organization, they noted the importance of butternut squash in regards to fueling and enhancing recovery. And quote unquote, they stated, it's an important high quality starchy carbohydrate that should be included in one's routine. So Team USA is definitely an advocate of getting in the butternut squash into their athletes too. And that's always fun. And now we're going to the red factor with strawberries. They're packed with vitamin C rich carbs that are great for both fueling muscle glycogen before a workout and also to replenishing the glycogen stores after a workout. So once again, it's kind of like the blueberry. There's never a bad time to have a strawberry. You can do it before or after a workout. In addition, it also has antioxidants like the anthocyanins, the quercetin, which aid in reducing inflammation and improving recovery. So when we're thinking of all these superfoods and how they relate to sports and fitness, like the key takeaway is to really just have a diet rich in a variety of fruits and vegetables to optimize repair and recovery and reduce exercise-induced inflammation. And, when I like to kind of relate it to my clients, like make it simple, tell them, hey, enjoy the colors of the rainbow. Like maybe on Monday, have something red. On Tuesday, have something orange. On Wednesday, have something yellow. On Thursday, have something green. And on Friday, have something blue or purple. And that way, over the course of the week, they're getting in a variety of colors. And I mean, if they have all the colors in one day, more the power to them, like the superfood, superhero, super strength. But give them like realistic things to achieve, and that way they can make it more pattern habit and make it actually happen. Now with Clover the Rainbow smoothies, what I like to do with my audience is I really like to make things simple on them. And it's great to know the science behind our recommendations and why our clients should be having leucine, probiotics, and antioxidants. But when it comes down to it, clients just want that easy, quick fix. Like they want a magic bullet. They just want to be like, tell me what to do. Just give me the optimal health and performance. Like just sum it up into one easy thing. And sometimes like smoothies are awesome. Clover the Rainbow smoothie, they have all three of these nutrients, the leucine, the probiotics, the antioxidants. You've got yogurt and milk with the leucine and the probiotics. You've got vegetables and fruits in each smoothie, which is nice because there's a vegetable component too, and not just the fruit. So you've got like double benefits of antioxidants present, and there's carbs and protein, 8 grams of protein in each bottle. And so with that in mind, like you can incorporate things like that. Also too, there's, as I shared earlier, there's a lot of other foods which have leucine, probiotics, and a different antioxidant. So when working with your clients, customize their preferences and guide them towards incorporating what foods work into their routine to optimize their sports recovery. And, talk to them about like, okay, what foods do you like? What are your dietary preferences? And then how can we, add certain foods in to really help you fuel your sport and, fuel your fitness. And then I'm always, okay, so as I mentioned before, I've been a pediatric dietitian for a really long time, and I love working with my kids. DJ, for example, so he's now 11, and I actually started working with him when he was 5. He's the guy holding the 3 smoothies. And so when he was 5, we used to do these kids in the kitchen cooking videos together. They were so much fun. So if you ever want to check it out, check out my YouTube. They're old, as I mentioned, he's now 11. So you'll see him when he was younger. Anyway, now he plays football, and he's a football player, and he's always trying to optimize his sport. He actually wants to build muscles. And so, we've talked before about like, okay, well, I've told him before, like, okay, well, guess what? Milk and yogurt have leucine, and that can help with muscle growth. And so he's like, all right, cool. So he's like, he really enjoys the smoothie factor because he'll drink the yogurt, he'll drink the milk yogurt smoothie. And then he also likes things that are sweet. And he's not a vegetable fan, and a lot of kids aren't. So when it comes to that, like, the smoothies are easy ways to get vegetables in, because DJ was like, Sarah, I hate beets. But guess what? Because beets usually taste like dirt. But the smoothies rocked because they're actually sweet, and I didn't taste any dirt. And I was like, well, that's a good thing, DJ, because you know what? When they put those beets in there, they washed off all the dirt first. So that's probably why you didn't taste it. But yes, it's a great way to get the veggies in a way that they don't feel, they know that they're there, but they don't really feel like they're eating a veggie, so to speak. So that's why it's kind of fun. Also too, when it comes to like getting veggies in, if a kid likes a dip, I just say, let them have it. Because the fact is like they're eating that veggie, and like I don't think ranch is like the worst thing in the world. Like if it helps them eat the dip, if it helps them eat the veggie, go for it. And like there's so many dips out there too. Like, they have hummus, they have beet hummus, they have all these different types of hummus, edamame hummus, oh my gosh, carrot hummus. Oh, I love carrot hummus. But yeah, so there's definitely different dips to do to get the veggies into. So Penelope is a 12-year-old competitive gymnast, and she travels a lot to go to competitions. So there, for example, especially since things are opening up, she was in Vegas in July, she was in LA in August, and then San Jose in September. And she's normally from the Berkeley area. And so with her, she's really always having gut-friendly foods are really important. And especially with her travel and her increased risk of getting sick and having a compromised immune system, it's important for her, especially to take note of the probiotic factor and the good gut health. And then also too, being a gymnast, she does have to focus on her physique, and she also needs foods that really help optimize her belly and doesn't make her feel bloated or whatnot. So post workout is when she's really enjoyed like the yogurt, the milk, the smoothies and stuff. And especially since they're easy to take on the go, it's a good snack. Other good traveling snacks are like bars, nuts, seeds, things like that. But when you work with your clients, you want to make sure that you're choosing foods that work well with their guts and their systems. And then last but not least, many of you know my partner in crime, little Nicosaurus. And with him, we're always looking for quick, on the go, all-in-one powerhouse recovery snacks or mini meals that I can throw in my bag or take in the car. And I love the Clover Sonoma smoothies in the sense where they have a resealable lid so that he's really in tune with his hunger cues. And lots of times he'll just eat or drink part of something if he's full. And then so we'll seal it up and I don't have to worry about it spilling in my purse. And then he'll be like, hey, mommy, can I see this for later? And I'll be like, sure. And then, okay, bad mom moment, but a couple of times I didn't save it for later because I drank it myself and I got in trouble because he was like, mommy, where's my drink? And I'm like, oh, it's all gone. Mommy drank it. She was hungry. So what we do now is I have my own drink. I take my own. Okay, I don't steal from my kid anymore. But yes, but they have resealable lids. And so it's great when we're running around town and someone just wants something for now or later. All right, so to sum everything up, let's talk about powering your brilliance through superfoods. Superfoods fuel the body, and let's definitely focus on food first as the motto with our clients. And just saying thank you to Clover Sonoma for sponsoring this webinar. They have a mission to power your brilliance through the boundless curiosity and passion. And the smoothies use superfoods to fuel the body with nutrition that will let us all shine. And when we think about superfoods, like emphasize to your clients, your kids, your audience that like they help us run faster, they help us jump higher, they help us throw farther, build muscles, grow stronger, remember more, think better, feel powerful, and stay healthy. So let's just advocate the whole superfood enhancement and let's enjoy. And then just a friendly reminder, that you can get free Clover Cash for the Clover the Rainbow smoothie. So you can go to your local store to get it. Just share on social media, tag at Clover Sonoma, use the hashtag Clover the Rainbow, the hashtag Power Your Brilliance, and we'll send you Clover Cash to get the smoothies. You can find the smoothies at independent retailers in Northern California, Whole Foods, Oliver's, and then also on Sprouts in Southern California. So I'm going to say thank you all for joining, and we're going to open it up now for Q&A. Let me stop sharing the screen real quick. And I will, let's see here. Oh yes, on Instagram at clover.sonoma. And then let's ask some Q&As. So feel free to ask in the chat, or you can even raise your hand if you want to, and we'll throw it out there. Okay, so let's go through the list. So I see, okay. Thank you. Yes, we love superfoods. Yes, Manuel, you rock, and superfoods are awesome. And then, is the leucine content different if it's Greek yogurt versus regular yogurt? Yes, that is actually a really great question. So it's about the amino acid composition. And so because the Greek yogurt tends to have a little bit more protein, so to speak, than the regular yogurt, there is a little bit of a different leucine content. Yes. Yeah. And then what other questions does anybody have? Any questions? All right. You can feel free to actually unmute yourself if you want to and ask a question. It's okay. Well, if there are no questions, then also too, I want to give a friendly reminder that you will be getting oh, thanks. We love, yeah, Clover rocks. Oh, and also too, just kind of speaking about Clover, I've always been a big advocate of supporting local as much as possible. And I really value the fact that, you know, it's a local Bay Area company and they're a B corporation. And so it's definitely great when we find companies and products that we can support, and also to kind of support the environment and support the, and I visited the farms before and super awesome, very friendly. They're great in the Petaluma, Sonoma area. And yeah, so it's really fun. And then also to Danielle, thanks for sharing. You could find the smoothies in Whole Foods, independent retailers, and then Southern California Sprouts, Mother's Market, Jimbo's, Lassen's, Bristol Farms, and then Erewhon. I've never heard of Erewhon before myself, but that's a good one. I don't know where that is. Something to learn. Yes. Oh, it's in LA. Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you. All right, so yes, and then everyone will be getting a CEU for attending this event. Thank you so much. We'll be sending out an email. And if you do have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email like offline if you didn't get a chance to answer it here, and I'll do my best to answer that. And once again, thank you so much for joining. And remember, just tell your family, friends, audience that Whole Foods, superfoods rock. And you know, colors of the rainbow really enhance our sports, and give them a reminder that, you know, eat the protein throughout the day, and we don't necessarily need like a ton of protein in one sitting. So yeah. So thanks everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right.